My name is Claire Morrison, and I'm 34 years old. 3 weeks prior to Thanksgiving, my mother telephoned to inform me I wouldn't be attending our family gathering because my sister's affluent boyfriend would be uncomfortable with my working-class profession. A preschool teacher, she uttered as though the words were distasteful. Rachel requires the proper impression. What they remained unaware of, what none of them comprehended, was the reality about who I truly was. 5 days following that dinner, they appeared at my doorstep, faces ashen, demanding explanations. The boyfriend had uncovered something that transformed everything. And my sister's flawless existence was about to disintegrate before 500 witnesses. It commenced with that telephone call 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I'd been teaching preschool for 9 years in Brooklyn. My studio apartment consumed half my earnings, but I cherished my work. 28 4-year-olds called me Miss Claire, and their paint-stained embraces were worth more than any salary. My sister Rachel would contest this. Rachel resided in a Manhattan penthouse that cost more monthly than I earned in 4. As creative director for an exclusive agency, she accumulated designer handbags like I collected children's artwork. Her Rolex watch, a modest reward she'd termed it, cost more than my vehicle. Our mother's social media featured Rachel exclusively. My daughter just secured another substantial contract, or Rachel's client presentation was magnificent. I appeared in precisely 4 photographs over the past 6 years, always peripheral. Claire is intelligent enough, mother would inform her acquaintances, but she lacks drive. Some individuals are designed for simpler pursuits. The family hierarchy was established early. Rachel received the primary bedroom in our childhood residence. I received the renovated basement. Rachel's accomplishments covered the refrigerator. Mine went into a cabinet. "We don't want her to feel inadequate," father would murmur, concealing my academic certificate whenever Rachel brought home anything less than perfection. But I possessed a secret, one I'd maintained for 2 years since grandmother Rose passed. The woman who nurtured me more than my parents ever did, who spent her final months grasping my hand while Rachel was too occupied to visit. Rose Morrison, whom everyone assumed was merely a retired accountant living on pension. They possessed no comprehension about the documents in my safe, no understanding about the empire she'd constructed in shadows, or why she'd selected me to protect it. "His name is Nathan Pierce," Rachel announced during our October family video call. "He's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, the kind of man who transforms society." My mother practically shrieked. "Pierce? The Pierce Foundation. Pierce the very same," Rachel confirmed, adjusting her laptop to display more of her penthouse background. "We encountered each other at the Metropolitan Art Gala. He said I possessed exquisite taste. I nearly choked on my coffee." Nathan Pierce. Naturally, I recognized that name, but I maintained my expression neutral, my preschool teacher smile firmly positioned. "He must be quite accomplished," father ventured, already calculating son-in-law potential. "Accomplished." Rachel laughed, that melodious sound she'd perfected at her European Academy. "Father, he oversees hundreds of millions in philanthropic funds. His family represents old wealth, the kind that constructs hospital wings." I observed my parents lean nearer to their screen, already envisioning the wedding at an elite venue, the grandchildren in exclusive schools, the family name elevated to heights they'd only imagined. "When do we meet him?" Mother asked breathlessly. "Thanksgiving. I want everything flawless. The residence, the meal." Rachel paused, her eyes locating mine through the screen. "The guest list." There it was. That expression I'd witnessed countless times previously. The one that communicated I was a problem to be addressed. I contemplated grandmother Rose then, those extended afternoons at Riverside Care, where she'd resided her final 2 years by preference, not requirement. "People reveal who they are when they believe you possess nothing," she told me. Her aged hands still graceful as she signed documents I assisted her reviewing. Remember that, Claire. Especially with family. She'd been correct about numerous things, about remaining silent, about allowing people to underestimate you, about the power of patience. I possessed no comprehension then how soon I'd require all three lessons, or that Nathan Pierce, the man my sister was so eager to impress, was about to become the key to everything. Grandmother Rose understood me in ways my parents never attempted to. While they celebrated Rachel's career pursuits, Rose would sit with me in her modest room at Riverside Care, instructing me about compound interest and charitable regulations over afternoon tea. "Your sister collects accessories," she'd observed once, viewing Rachel's social media. "You collect hearts. Which do you think endures longer?" Rose Morrison had constructed her fortune quietly, anonymously. No one knew the Rose Morrison Foundation existed, let alone that it controlled $42 million in assets. She'd started with nothing, a widow at 32 with 2 children working 3 jobs. By 72, she was secretly funding scholarships, food programs, and educator support initiatives across New York. Rachel visited once this year. Rose had noted 6 months before she passed. Stayed 14 minutes. Inquired about my will at minute 11. I'd been there every Sunday for 2 years. Not for money. I hadn't even known about it. But because she was the only family member who perceived me. Really perceived me. "The documents are with Harrison and Partners," she'd told me that final month. Her voice still strong despite the cancer. "Everything's arranged. Just remember, money amplifies character. Doesn't create it." I thought she meant a few thousand. Perhaps her jewelry. I'd signed documents as her healthcare representative, thinking I was merely assisting with medical decisions. 2 weeks after her funeral, David Harrison himself had called me. That's when I learned about the foundation, the board position, the conditions attached to every penny of the family inheritance. "Your grandmother was very specific," he'd said, sliding documents across his mahogany desk. "She believed in testing character when people didn't know they were being tested." I'd kept it all secret for 2 years, waiting, observing. Now finally the test was about to commence. The call came November 4th, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Mother's contact photo, her and Rachel at Martha's Vineyard, illuminated my phone during my lunch break. "Claire, about Thanksgiving," she started without preamble. "We've had to make some modifications." I set down my sandwich. "Modifications? You won't be attending this year." The playground outside my classroom window was full of children laughing. I focused on their joy while my mother explained my exclusion. "Nathan is from a very prominent family. Rachel needs to make the right impression. And..." She paused, gathering courage for cruelty. "Your profession might convey the wrong message about our family's standing." My profession, teaching children. You know what I mean. So working class. Nathan associates with CEOs, investors, people who matter. What would you even discuss? Finger painting. I heard father clear his throat in the background. He was on speaker, complicit in his silence. "Is this Rachel's request or yours, Mother? Does it matter? We all want what's best for Rachel's future. This could transform everything for our family." I could hear it then. Rachel laughing in the background, not even attempting to hide her presence. "Just to be clear," I said, my teacher voice perfectly steady. "You're excluding me from Thanksgiving because my career embarrasses Rachel. Don't be dramatic. It's just one dinner. Next year will be different once they're engaged. Understand? You do." Mother sounded surprised, maybe even disappointed I wasn't fighting. "Perfectly. Give everyone my best." I disconnected before she could respond. My hands weren't even trembling. Grandmother Rose had taught me that too. Never let them see you bleed. My phone buzzed immediately. A text from Rachel. "It's nothing personal. You understand, right? This is my opportunity at real happiness." I didn't respond, but I did open my safe and retrieve a folder labeled Rose Morrison Foundation Succession Protocols. Inside, a sticky note in grandmother's handwriting. When they show you who they are, believe them. Rachel called an hour later, probably worried my silence meant rebellion. I knew mother would make it sound worse than it is, she began, her voice dripping false concern. But Claire, be realistic. You earn $42,000 a year teaching small children. Nathan's watch costs more than that. I'm aware of income disparities, Rachel. Are you? Because sometimes I wonder if you understand the real world. The world I'm entering, Nathan's world. It's all about connections, influence, power. What would you contribute? Amusing stories about playground incidents. I let her talk. Sometimes the best teaching tool is silence. His circle includes Fortune 500 CEOs, dignitaries, people who vacation with politicians. And you'd show up in your department store dress talking about lesson plans and parent conferences. Can you imagine how that would reflect on me? You're right, I said quietly. I don't belong in that world. Finally, some sense. Look, it's not forever. Once Nathan and I are married, once I'm established, maybe we can ease you in. Small dinners first. We'll coach you on what to say, what to wear. That's generous. I'm trying to help you, Claire. This is my chance at real happiness, real success. Don't you want that for me? I want you to be happy, Rachel. Then stay away from Thanksgiving. And Claire, don't even think about just showing up. I'll have you removed if necessary. The threat hung between us. My younger sister, whom I'd protected every day, who'd cried in my arms when relationships failed, was threatening to have security escort me from our family dinner. Understood, I said. Enjoy your dinner. After she disconnected, I opened my laptop and logged into the foundation's board portal. There it was on the calendar. Annual Gala, November 30th, 3 days after Thanksgiving. 500 guests, full media coverage. Perfect. I opened my safe that night and spread everything across my kitchen table. The will, the board appointment, the share certificates. Each document pristine, notarized, indisputable. Rose's will was a masterpiece of foresight. The family inheritance, 16 million and 3 properties, came with one unbreakable condition. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent kindness and refuse to discriminate based on social or economic status. Subsection 7.3 was particularly interesting. Any act of deliberate exclusion of family members based on their profession, income, or social standing will result in immediate forfeiture of all claims. Rose had even included examples, such as, but not limited to, refusing family invitation due to embarrassment over their honest work. My phone buzzed. An email from David Harrison. Ms. Morrison, confirming your attendance at the gala. The board is eager to formally introduce you. I typed back, I'll be there. Please ensure media coverage includes the foundation's history segment. Course. Your grandmother's video message will play after your introduction. Video message. I'd almost forgotten. Rose had recorded it 6 months before she died. For the right moment, she'd said. I pulled up the foundation's website, looking at the board of directors page. There I was, listed as chairman of the board, my photo notably absent at my request. Below my name, appointed by founder Rose Morrison, 2023. Nathan Pierce would know exactly who I was the moment he did his due diligence, if he hadn't already. I thought about calling Rachel, warning her. Then I remembered her words. Don't even think about showing up. Fine. I wouldn't show up to Thanksgiving. But the gala, that was business. I sent one more email, this time to the foundation's event coordinator. Please add 5 names to the guest list. The Morrison family. Send the invitations directly to me. I'll handle delivery personally. My grandmother always said revenge was beneath us. But justice was everything. Thanksgiving arrived gray and drizzling. I ordered Thai food from Bangkok House. Pad Thai and spring rolls for 1. My phone stayed silent until 2 in the afternoon when Rachel's social media story appeared. The dining room at my parents' house had been transformed. Crystal glasses I'd never seen, new china with platinum edges, fresh orchids as centerpieces. Rachel posed with Nathan, her hand strategically placed to show a diamond tennis bracelet I assumed was new. Perfect family dinner with my love, her caption read. Grateful for family who understand what really matters. #blessed, #Pierce Foundation. Nathan looked uncomfortable in the photos. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and in one candid shot, he was staring at an empty chair, my chair with a furrowed brow. A text came through from Amanda, my teacher friend. Saw Rachel's post. Why aren't you in any photos? Scheduling conflict, I replied. On Thanksgiving. Claire, what really happened? I didn't answer. Instead, I scrolled through more of Rachel's stories. Mother had posted too. So proud of my successful daughter and her wonderful boyfriend. The future is bright. 25 comments, all gushing about what a beautiful couple Rachel and Nathan made. My cousin Lisa wrote, "Where's Claire?" Rachel had replied, she had other plans. You know how dedicated teachers are to their work. Lying came so easily to her. My fortune cookie that night read, "Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet." Mr. Chen always did have impeccable timing. I folded the fortune and tucked it into my wallet next to the gala invitation I'd be hand-delivering soon. 3 days. 72 hours until everything changed. My phone buzzed once more. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe. Claire Morrison. The voice was professional, careful. This is Nathan Pierce. We need to talk. I didn't have to wait long for the conversation with Nathan to bear fruit. 5 days after Thanksgiving, at 7 in the morning, someone pounded on my apartment door like they were trying to wake the dead. Through the peephole I saw my parents. Mother's usually perfect hair was disheveled. Father's face was red, either from anger or the 4 flights of stairs. I opened the door in my teaching clothes, khakis and a cardigan with alphabet buttons. Good morning. What did you do? Mother pushed past me without invitation. What did you say to Nathan? I haven't spoken to Nathan. Not a lie. He'd done all the talking during our brief call. Don't play dumb, Father slammed the door behind him. He broke up with Rachel yesterday at brunch. In public. I poured myself coffee, noting neither parent had ever visited my apartment before. Took a family crisis to get them here. That must be upsetting for her. Upsetting. Mother's voice climbed octaves. He walked into the foundation office and saw your portrait. Your portrait, Claire, as chairman of the board. Ah, so that's how he'd found out. Why didn't you tell us? Father demanded. How could you hide something like this? The same way you hid excluding me from Thanksgiving. That's different, Mother started. Is it? You didn't want me there because my job embarrassed Rachel, because I'm too working class for her wealthy boyfriend. Your words, Mother. Rachel's devastated. She says you sabotaged her on purpose. I did nothing. Nathan discovered the truth on his own. Fix this, Father ordered, using his executive voice. Call Nathan. Tell him you'll resign. Whatever it takes. No. Mother's face went pale. Your sister's happiness meant more to you than my dignity, I understand. But I won't lie or resign to fix what Rachel broke herself. You want to know the whole truth. I sat down my coffee. Come to the foundation gala tomorrow night. Everything will be explained. What gala? I handed them the embossed invitations I'd been saving. The Rose Morrison Foundation annual gala. Black tie. 8 o'clock. The Waldorf Astoria. Mother stared at the invitation, at grandmother's name in elegant script. Mother's foundation. Bring Rachel. She'll want to hear this. They left clutching those invitations like lifelines, or maybe grenades. The family assault began within hours. Rachel arrived at my school during afternoon pickup, mascara streaking her cheeks despite her waterproof claims. How could you? She wailed, not caring that parents were staring. You've always been jealous of me. Rachel, I'm working. I guided my last student to her father, maintaining my professional smile. You poisoned him against me, told him lies. I've never spoken to Nathan about you. Liar. He said he can't be with someone who's ashamed of their own family. Where would he get that idea? From you, I thought, but didn't say. Mother called while Rachel was still ranting. Your father and I have discussed this. You need to step down from whatever position you have. Rachel deserves this chance at happiness. And I deserve to spend Thanksgiving with my family. That's petty, Claire. We're talking about Rachel's entire future. No, we're talking about consequences. Father took the phone. Be reasonable. Rachel has worked hard for her success. And I haven't. Teaching preschool isn't the same as. I disconnected. Rachel grabbed my arm. I'll contest the will. I'll prove you manipulated grandmother. With what evidence? She had dementia. She had cancer. Her mind was perfect until the end. Every document was witnessed by medical professionals. You turned her against me. You visited her once in 2 years, Rachel. For 14 minutes. Her face crumbled then, real tears finally flowing. For a moment, I saw my little sister, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Please, she whispered. I love him. Then you should have been honest with him. I'll do anything. Come to the gala tomorrow. Listen to what grandmother had to say. Then we'll see. She left without another word, but I knew she'd be there. The possibility of salvaging her fortune would ensure it. Nathan called that evening. I recognized his voice immediately. Measured, thoughtful, nothing like the entitled air Rachel had described. Ms. Morrison, I apologize for the ambush. I needed to understand who you really were. And your staff speaks highly of you. 14 teachers mentioned you've personally covered their supply costs. The principal says you volunteer every weekend for the meal program. That's my job. No, that's your character, which makes me wonder why Rachel told me you were unemployed, living off family money. I said nothing. Sometimes silence is the most honest response. She said you were bitter about her success, he continued. That you'd been institutionalized for depression. That the family had to exclude you from events because you caused scenes. Each lie was a small knife. I'd had no idea how thoroughly she'd erased me. When I saw your portrait at the foundation, your grandmother's foundation, I realized I'd been deceived. But I need to know why you didn't tell me yourself. Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was the jealous sister Rachel described? Long pause. You wanted me to discover it myself. I wanted you to know who you were really dating. Someone who could erase her own sister for social gain. She's been calling me non-stop, begging for another chance, saying you've poisoned her family against her. I've done nothing except exist inconveniently. Will you be at the gala? I'm the chairman. Have to give a speech. Rachel will be there. She's desperate to maintain her connection to the foundation's donors. I know this will destroy her professionally. No, Mr. Pierce. She destroyed herself. I'm just refusing to hide it anymore. He was quiet for a moment. Your grandmother must have been remarkable. She was. And she believed in accountability. I'll see you tomorrow night, Miss Morrison. Nathan, bring your board members. They should hear this too. After he disconnected, I pulled out my speech notes. 24 hours until truth met consequences. Midnight, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, Rachel stood in designer sweats, her face puffy but determined. We need to talk, she said when I opened the door. I let her in. She'd never visited before, and I watched her take in my modest space. The teaching awards on the walls, the student artwork, the photos of Grandmother Rose and me. Nice place, she said, her tone suggesting otherwise. Very you. What do you want, Rachel? Her demeanor shifted, tears evaporating. I know about the inheritance. What inheritance? Don't play dumb. 16 million. The properties. It's all in the will, isn't it? How would you know that? I have friends at Harrison and Partners. Illegal but unsurprising. And I'm the rightful heir. I'm the one who represents this family professionally. I'm the one who needs it. For what? More designer bags. For my life. Do you understand what circles I move in? The people I have to keep up with. You wouldn't understand. You're happy being nobody. I'm happy being myself. God, you're sanctimonious. She stood pacing just like grandmother. Always judging me for wanting more. She never judged you, Rachel. She just saw you. What's that supposed to mean? Come to the gala. You'll understand. I'll contest the will. I'll say you exerted undue influence. Try it. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. Or we could make a deal. You resign from the foundation, support my claim to the inheritance, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. $1 million tax-free. Whoa. $2 million. Rachel, there's something you should know. Grandmother left a video message for the gala. Her face went white. What kind of message? The kind that explains everything, including why she made the choices she did. You've seen it. Tomorrow everyone will. She left without another word, but her perfume lingered. Tom Ford, expensive and suffocating, just like her affection. The morning of the gala, I sat in my empty classroom, staring at Rose's photo on my desk. Was I doing the right thing, or was I just being vindictive? My phone had 41 missed calls. Extended family, mutual friends, all suddenly interested in my life. The family group chat, which I'd been removed from months ago, had apparently exploded. Cousin Lisa sent screenshots. Claire is trying to steal Rachel's inheritance. She manipulated grandmother. Always knew she was bitter about being the failure. Failure because I taught children instead of selling luxury brands to people who didn't need them. I nearly called David Harrison to cancel everything. Let Rachel have the money. Let my parents have their golden child. Let me fade back into the background where they'd always preferred me. Then I looked at my wall of student photos. 28 bright faces who believed Miss Claire could do anything. Who didn't care that my car was 12 years old or my clothes came from discount stores. I opened my desk drawer and found the note grandmother had slipped me that last day. Stand up for what's right, even if you stand alone. I'm trying, grandmother, I whispered. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. The foundation's major donors are all confirming attendance. Whatever you're planning, it's going to have an audience. Another from David Harrison. Video equipment tested. Legal team on standby. Your grandmother would be proud. 6 hours until the gala. I looked at my dress hanging on the door. Navy blue, simple, borrowed from Amanda. Nothing like the designer gowns that would fill that ballroom. But I'd learned something from Grandmother Rose. It's not the dress that matters. It's the documentation in your briefcase. And mine was bulletproof. 3 hours before the gala, I met David Harrison at his office. The conference table was covered in documents, each one tagged and numbered. Your grandmother was meticulous, he said, adjusting his wire-rim glasses. Every contingency covered, every loophole closed. She knew this would happen. She suspected. Your sister's behavior patterns were consistent. He pulled out a tablet. The video message is cued. She recorded it 6 months before she passed, in front of 3 witnesses. Myself, Dr. Chen, and Judge Walker, all verifying her mental capacity. Crystal clear. She even took a cognitive assessment that morning. Scored perfect. The other board members arrived. Mrs. Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen, Dr. Williams, and Ms. Rodriguez. Each had worked with Rose for years, funding scholarships and meal programs across the city. We're behind you, Claire, Mrs. Chen said firmly. Your grandmother chose well. The media will be there, Dr. Williams added. 3 major outlets confirmed. This will be public. That's the point, I said. No more hiding. No more secrets. David handed me an envelope. The board meeting minutes from when you were appointed. Your sister's going to claim manipulation. This proves the board voted unanimously. Based on what? Your grandmother's recommendation, but also your own work. Did you know she had you investigated? Every volunteer hour, every dollar you spent on students, every weekend at the meal program. It's all documented. I hadn't known. Even in death, Rose was still teaching me about preparation. One more thing, David said, pulling out a sealed folder. If Rachel challenges the will, this gets opened. Your grandmother called it the nuclear option. What's in it? I don't know. She sealed it herself. But she said it would end any contest immediately. I tucked it into my briefcase, hoping I'd never need it. My phone buzzed. Rachel, I'll be there. We're going to settle this once and for all. Yes, I thought. We certainly are. By 5 o'clock, Rachel had launched her campaign. Social media everywhere, all featuring the same narrative. Her jealous, unstable sister trying to steal family money through elder abuse. Some people can't stand to see others succeed, she'd written. Mental health issues are serious, and I hope Claire gets the help she needs. The comments poured in. Her carefully cultivated network rallying to her defense. Marketing executives, fashion bloggers, the influencers she'd courted, all echoing her pain at being betrayed by family. Mother called furious. What have you done? Rachel's reputation is everything to her. And my dignity meant nothing to you. Stop this vendetta. Call off whatever you're planning. Come to the gala, Mother. 8 o'clock. Rachel says you're going to humiliate her. No, I'm going to tell the truth. Father took the phone. Claire, be reasonable. We're a family. Are we? Because families don't exclude each other from holidays for being too poor. Silence then. That was a mistake. We see that now. Only because I have something Rachel wants. I disconnected and turned off my phone. The noise didn't matter anymore. Amanda arrived with my dress and makeup bag. You sure about this? They excluded me for being a teacher. Called my job embarrassing, said I'd humiliate them in front of Nathan's important friends. And now they'll learn that grandmother's important friends have been funding teachers all along. That the foundation they're so desperate to access exists specifically to support the people they look down on. Poetic justice. Just justice with documentation. I looked at the clock. 2 hours until curtain. 2 hours until 30 years of being the family disappointment finally meant something. Help me with this zipper, I asked Amanda. It's time to stop hiding. An hour before the gala, I stood in the Waldorf Astoria's preparation room, reviewing my speech one last time. The invitation list glowed on my tablet. 500 confirmed, including every major philanthropist in the city. David Harrison knocked and entered. Times is here. The Journal too. They're intrigued by the mysterious announcement promised in the invitation. Your family arrived 10 minutes ago. Your sister is making an entrance. Through the door's window, I glimpsed Rachel in a scarlet Valentino gown, working the room like she owned it. Mother and father flanked her. Their formal wear impeccable, their discomfort visible only if you knew where to look. She's telling people she's about to be named to the board, David said quietly. That tonight is her formal introduction to society. In a way, she's right. Nathan entered with his delegation, 5 board members from Pierce Industries, all in conservative black tie. He caught my eye through the window, nodded once. His face gave nothing away. Miss Morrison, a young woman with press credentials, approached. Sarah Kim from Channel 7. We heard there's a major announcement about the Morrison family legacy at 9 sharp. Can you give us a preview? My grandmother believed in transparency. Tonight we honor that belief. She scribbled notes, hungry for more. I gave her nothing. My phone finally turned back on, showed 53 messages. I deleted them all unread except one from Nathan. Whatever happens tonight, your grandmother would be proud. David handed me the remote for the presentation screen. The video is cued. Just press play when you're ready. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. Navy dress, simple pearls, teaching award pin on my lapel, my own small rebellion. Not the designer gown they'd expect from new money, but exactly what Rose would have chosen. Let's go, I told David. It's time to let the documents speak. The Waldorf Astoria ballroom glittered like a jewelry box. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns across 500 guests in their finest attire. Servers circulated with champagne. Crystal flutes, I noticed, remembering how Rachel had once mocked my preference for affordable wine. I entered through the side door, avoiding the main entrance where Rachel held court. She'd positioned herself near the foundation's banner, gesturing animatedly to a cluster of donors, no doubt spinning her narrative of family legacy and her rightful place in it. Claire, Mrs. Chen, embraced me warmly. Your grandmother would love this, her first public gala. Rose had always insisted on anonymity, funding quietly, never seeking recognition. Tonight would have horrified and amused her in equal measure. Claire Morrison, a silver-haired woman, approached. I'm Patricia Vanderbilt. Your grandmother funded my literacy program for 12 years. I never got to thank her. Before I could respond, others surrounded me. Teachers whose classrooms Rose had supplied, meal program directors she'd kept afloat, scholarship recipients now running their own nonprofits. None of them had known their benefactor's name until the invitations arrived. Across the room, I watched my parents notice the attention I was receiving. Mother's face went from confused to alarmed. She whispered urgently to Rachel, who spun around, her scarlet dress flaring dramatically. Our eyes met across the sea of evening wear. For a moment, I saw fear flicker across her face. Then she lifted her chin, that Morrison pride grandmother always said would be our downfall, and started pushing through the crowd toward me. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, dinner is served. Please find your seats. I'd arranged the seating myself. Rachel at table 1, naturally, right in front of the podium with perfect view of the presentation screen. Mother and father beside her. Nathan at table 2 with his board. The press scattered strategically throughout. As I took my seat at the head table, I felt the weight of 500 curious gazes. They'd come expecting standard charity speeches and polite applause. They were about to witness something far more interesting, the public unraveling of a family's carefully constructed facade. Dinner was served. Filet mignon that Rachel barely touched, too busy working the room between courses. She'd managed to charm half her table, her laugh carrying across the ballroom as she told stories about growing up with grandmother Rose and learning philanthropy at her knee. I ate quietly, watching her perform. She was good, I'd give her that. Every gesture calculated, every anecdote designed to establish her as Rose's spiritual heir. As dessert arrived, Rachel made her move. She stood, tapping her champagne glass with a spoon until the room quieted. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, her voice carrying perfectly, all those presentation skills on display. But I simply can't wait any longer to share something wonderful. The MC looked confused, checking his program. This wasn't scheduled. As many of you know, I'm Rachel Morrison, Rose Morrison's granddaughter. She paused for effect. And I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be taking a leadership role in the foundation, working alongside my dear friend Nathan Pierce to expand our mission. Nathan stood abruptly. Rachel, that's not. Oh, Nathan, always so modest, she laughed, that tinkling sound that probably charmed boardrooms. Everyone, Nathan and I have been planning incredible initiatives. The future of the Rose Morrison Foundation will be discussed by its actual board, Nathan said firmly. And we're not together, Rachel. I made that clear. The room buzzed. Cameras that had been discreetly recording suddenly became obvious. Reporters leaning forward. Rachel's composure cracked. This is just a misunderstanding. My sister, she pointed at me, her manicured fingers shaking. She's manipulated everyone. She's not who you think she is. Security, David Harrison said quietly into his phone. No, Rachel's voice rose. You need to know the truth. Claire is a nobody. A preschool teacher who makes nothing, contributes nothing. She tricked our grandmother, isolated her, stole. 2 security guards approached, but I stood, raising my hand. Let her finish. The room went silent. Go ahead, Rachel, I said, my teacher voice calm and clear. Tell everyone exactly what you think of me and my job. Don't hold back. She took the bait. Of course she did, she always did. You're an embarrassment, she spat. $42,000 a year, driving that ancient Honda, shopping at Target. You're everything our family isn't supposed to be. And what, I asked quietly, is our family supposed to be? I walked to the podium with measured steps, my borrowed heels clicking against marble. 500 faces turned to follow my movement. The cameras tracked me. Rachel stood frozen at her table, her scarlet dress now looking more like a warning flag than high fashion. Thank you, Rachel, I said into the microphone. That was perfect timing. Clicked the remote. The foundation's logo appeared on the massive screen behind me. Good evening. I'm Claire Morrison, chairman of the board of the Rose Morrison Foundation. For those who don't know me, which is most of you, I teach preschool at PS 89 in Brooklyn. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The contrast between my simple introduction and Rachel's grandiose claims couldn't have been starker. My grandmother, Rose Morrison, built this foundation over 40 years. She worked 3 jobs as a young widow, invested every spare penny, and quietly accumulated enough wealth to change thousands of lives. She never sought recognition, never wanted galas like this. Clicked again. Photos appeared. Rose at meal programs, in classrooms, at community centers, always in the background, always anonymous. But tonight, we break that tradition because Rose left us one final lesson about what really matters. Before we continue, I said, looking directly at my sister, I should mention that 3 days ago, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was excluded from my family's Thanksgiving dinner because my profession would embarrass my sister in front of her boyfriend. The cameras swung between Rachel and me. The boyfriend she mentioned, Nathan Pierce, who's here tonight as one of our major donors. Nathan, would you mind confirming what Rachel told you about me? Nathan stood slowly. She said Claire was unemployed, living off family money. That she'd been institutionalized. That the family had to exclude her from events because she was unstable. The room erupted. Rachel screamed something unintelligible. Now, I said, clicking the remote again. Let's hear what Rose Morrison had to say about all of this. Rose's face filled the screen. She sat in David Harrison's office, looking directly at the camera with those sharp eyes that had never missed anything. The timestamp showed 6 months before her death. If you're watching this, Rose's recorded voice filled the ballroom. Then something has happened that requires absolute clarity about my wishes. The room was silent except for the soft whir of cameras. I am Rose Marie Morrison, of sound mind and body, as verified by the 3 witnesses present. The camera panned to show David Harrison, Dr. Chen, and Judge Walker. This recording concerns my estate and the conditions attached to it. I watched my parents' faces drain of color. They'd had no idea this existed. My estate consists of $16 million in liquid assets, 3 properties in New York, and controlling interest in the Rose Morrison Foundation. This inheritance comes with one unbreakable condition. Rose paused, her eyes seeming to look directly at Rachel. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent kindness and refuse to discriminate based on social or economic status. This includes, and I'm being specific here, never excluding family members because of their profession or income level. Rachel stood up, shaking. This is fake. This is. Sit down, Miss Morrison, Judge Walker said from table 3. I witnessed this recording personally. Rose continued. If my primary beneficiary violates this condition through witness discrimination, documented exclusion, or public dismissal of working-class professions, they forfeit all claims immediately and permanently. The screen split. On one side, Rose. On the other, screenshots appeared. Rachel's texts about my embarrassing job, the social media posts mother made about excluding me, the story perfect family -1. My granddaughter Rachel, Rose's voice was sad but firm, has shown a pattern of valuing wealth over family, status over substance. If she has excluded Claire for being a teacher, a profession I deeply respect, then she has failed my test. Well, Rachel lunged toward the screen, but security held her back. The inheritance transfers immediately to the secondary beneficiary, Claire Marie Morrison, who has spent 9 years teaching children, every weekend volunteering, and never once boasting about her connection to this foundation. The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But Rose wasn't done. David Harrison took the podium as Rose's image froze on screen. He carried a leather portfolio, his movements precise and lawyerly. Ladies and gentlemen, as executor of Rose Morrison's estate, I'm required to confirm the legal standing of what you've just witnessed. He opened the portfolio, revealing documents tagged with legal seals. On November 23, 2024, Thanksgiving Day, Rachel Morrison sent these messages to her sister. He clicked the remote. The texts appeared, each one time-stamped. Your working-class job would embarrass me. Stay away from my real family. You're everything our family shouldn't be. These messages, sent voluntarily and documented through cellular records, constitute clear violation of Section 7.3 of Rose Morrison's will. Those were private, Rachel shrieked. Posted to social media, actually, David corrected, showing the screenshot. Very public. Additionally, we have this email from Mrs. Linda Morrison to extended family explaining that Claire was excluded from Thanksgiving because her profession wasn't, quote, appropriate for the company they were keeping. Mother stood up, wobbling. We didn't know about the will. Irrelevant. The condition isn't dependent on your knowledge. It's dependent on your character. Dr. Chen stood from his table. I performed cognitive assessments on Mrs. Morrison monthly for her last year. Every score was perfect. She was sharper at 90 than most people at 50. Judge Walker added. The will was filed with the court 2 years ago. It's been reviewed by 3 separate legal teams. It's ironclad. David pulled out another document. As of this moment, Rachel Morrison has forfeited all claims to the Rose Morrison estate. The full inheritance, $16 million, the Manhattan brownstone, the Hamptons cottage, the Vermont cabin, and controlling interest in this foundation, transfers to Claire Morrison. He turned to my parents. You were named as potential trustees with an annual stipend of $55,000. However, your participation in the discrimination disqualifies you as well. Father collapsed into his chair. Mother was crying, mascara streaming. This is theft, Rachel screamed. We'll sue. You'll lose, David said simply. Your own words convicted you. Rachel's meltdown was spectacular, even by her standards. She grabbed a champagne flute and threw it at the screen where Rose's frozen image seemed to watch with disappointment. The glass shattered harmlessly against the projection surface. You planned this, she whirled on me, her designer dress tearing at the seam as she moved. You manipulated her. You turned her against me. I visited her, I said quietly, the microphone catching every word. Every Sunday for 2 years. You came once. I was building my career. I had important things. More important than family. Yes. That's what you told Mother, isn't it? That Nathan and his connections were more important than having your sister at Thanksgiving. You don't understand business. You don't understand anything. You're just a teacher. Just a teacher. I let the words hang. The same profession as Mrs. Davidson here, who grandmother funded for 20 years. Mr. Martinez, whose classroom she supplied. Ms. Washington, whose students she sent to college. I gestured around the room. Half the people here are teachers, social workers, nonprofit directors. The very people you consider beneath you. Nathan stood. Rachel, you told me your family was in finance. That your grandmother was a society matron. You lied about everything. For you, Rachel turned on him. To fit into your world. My world. Nathan laughed bitterly. My foundation exclusively funds working-class initiatives. My mother was a seamstress. My father drove a taxi. I built my wealth to lift others up, not to separate myself from them. He looked at me. Your grandmother and I had the same values. That's why we partnered. Partnership. Rachel's voice cracked. What partnership? The Pierce Foundation is cutting all ties with your company, Nathan announced. Effective immediately. We don't work with people who discriminate against the communities we serve. The dominoes fell fast. 3 other major donors at nearby tables stood, announcing they too were severing relationships with Rachel's firm. Her phone, sitting on the table, lit up with what I assumed were panicked calls from her business partners. You've destroyed me, she whispered, finally understanding. No, Rachel. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided I wasn't good enough to sit at your table. I returned to the podium, waiting for the chaos to settle. Security had moved closer to Rachel, but she'd collapsed into her chair, sobbing into her hands while Mother rubbed her back ineffectively. I want to be clear about something, I said, my voice steady. I never wanted the money. I didn't know about the will's conditions until after Grandmother died. I kept quiet because I wanted my family to show me who they really were when they thought I had nothing to offer. Clicked the remote. A new slide appeared. The Rose Morrison Equal Dignity Initiative. Tonight, I'm announcing that the entire $16 million inheritance will be donated to the foundation. It will fund a new program specifically for underpaid essential workers, teachers, caregivers, social workers. People like the ones my family thought weren't good enough. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. The properties will be converted into affordable housing for educators in New York City. No teacher should have to choose between their calling and a living wage. More applause. I saw teachers in the audience crying. Rachel, I addressed my sister directly. You're not cut off. I'm offering you a position with the foundation. Volunteer position, of course. 20 hours a week working directly with the communities you've dismissed. You can learn what Grandmother knew, that dignity isn't determined by income. You're humiliating me, she hissed. No, I'm offering you redemption. The same chance Grandmother gave me every Sunday when she taught me that wealth without compassion is just greed with better accessories. I turned to my parents. The offer extends to you both. Family therapy is non-negotiable if you want any relationship with me going forward. Respect isn't optional anymore. Father nodded slowly, understanding. Mother was still staring at Rachel like she was seeing her for the first time. One last thing, I said, pulling out the sealed envelope David had given me. Grandmother left this, called it the nuclear option if anyone contested the will. Should I open it, Rachel? My sister shook her head violently, terror replacing anger. Whatever she suspected was in there. She didn't want it public. Then we're done here. The media coverage was swift and brutal. By morning, Air loses millions over Thanksgiving snub was trending. The New York Times ran a feature. When snobbery costs $16 million, a modern morality tale. Rachel's creative firm lost 8 major clients in 48 hours. Her social media, once carefully curated with luxury and success, was flooded with comments calling her out for elitism and cruelty. She deleted her accounts by day 3. My parents came to my apartment a week later, looking older, smaller somehow. Father spoke first. We failed you. Both of you, actually. We created this dynamic. We thought success meant money, Mother added quietly. Your grandmother tried to tell us otherwise, but we didn't listen. Are you willing to do the work? Yes. Real therapy, not just apologies. They agreed. Dr. Kim, who specialized in family dynamics and class issues, would see us weekly. Nathan and I met for coffee to discuss the foundation's future. Your grandmother would be proud, he said. You handled that with more grace than I would have. She taught me that revenge makes you smaller. Justice makes you stronger. What about Rachel? She moved to Chicago. Got a job at a non-profit, the only place that would hire her. Makes $37,000 a year now. Ironic. Educational. She sent a letter last week. First honest thing she's written to me in years. I didn't tell him I hadn't opened it yet. Some wounds need time before you test their healing. The Foundation's first initiative launched a month later. Emergency grants for teachers facing eviction. We funded 300 in the first week. Each thank you letter went into a folder labeled, "Why This Matters." My answer to anyone who questioned the value of working-class work. The Times did a follow-up story 6 months later. They photographed me in my preschool classroom, surrounded by 4-year-olds during story time. The headline read, "The Millionaire Teacher Who Gave It All Away." But the photo caption was my favorite. Claire Morrison, chairman of the Rose Morrison Foundation, teaching her students about kindness. Her grandmother's greatest lesson, she says, was that dignity isn't measured in dollars. Rachel saw it. I know because she texted. Grandmother would choose you all over again. She chose both of us, I replied. You just haven't accepted the lesson yet. 6 months after the gala, I still taught preschool. My classroom hadn't changed much. Same alphabet posters, same reading corner, same circle time rug. But everything else had transformed. The foundation had distributed $4.5 million in emergency grants to teachers, funded 60 classroom renovations, and launched a program providing free supplies to any educator who asked. No paperwork, no justification needed. Rose would have loved the simplicity. PS 89 received a $2 million grant for infrastructure and resources. My principal cried when I handed her the check. Your grandmother never forgot us, she said. I didn't correct her assumption that Rose had planned this. In a way, she had. My parents were in therapy, making slow progress. Mother had stopped mentioning Rachel's past success entirely, focusing instead on small conversations about the present. Father volunteered at the foundation's weekend programs, teaching financial literacy to immigrant families. Penance, he called it. Nathan and I became unexpected allies. The Pierce Foundation partnered with ours for a nationwide initiative supporting working-class families. We kept it professional, though I sometimes caught him looking at me with something like regret for what might have been if we'd met differently. Time magazine named me Philanthropist of the Year. I wore the same navy dress from the gala to the photo shoot. The interviewer asked why I still taught when I could do bigger things. 28 4-year-olds trust me to teach them to read, I said. There's nothing bigger than that. The article mentioned Rachel once, noting she'd declined to comment. What they didn't know was that she'd started volunteering at a Chicago meal program, 20 hours a week, just like I'd suggested. The director, an old friend of Rose's, sent me updates. She's learning. Slowly, but she's learning. I kept Rose's photo on my desk next to the crayon drawings and construction paper cards. Sometimes during quiet moments, I'd tell her about the lives we were changing. You were right, grandmother, I'd whisper. Standing up for what's right is lonely at first. But eventually, the right people stand with you. A year after that Thanksgiving exclusion, I finally opened Rachel's letter. She'd written it in purple ink, the same color she'd used for notes when we were kids, before money and status poisoned everything. Claire, it began. I used to think grandmother chose wrong, that you'd manipulated her into giving you everything. But I work at a meal program now, making less than you do. And yesterday, a woman cried because we gave her groceries without making her prove she deserved them. I think I finally understand what grandmother saw, what you both saw. That dignity isn't something you earn or buy. It's something you recognize in everyone, or you don't have it yourself. She didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't suggest reconciliation, just acknowledged the truth we'd both always known, but only one of us had accepted. I folded the letter and placed it in Rose's folder, the one with all the important documents. Not the legal ones but the human ones. The thank you notes from teachers, the drawings from students, the photos of families in the houses we'd converted from my inheritance properties. Looking back, I could have handled Thanksgiving differently. Could have fought to be included, begged for my place at the table. Could have revealed my position earlier, used it as leverage for respect. But Rose taught me that respect earned through power isn't respect at all. It's fear dressed in nicer clothes. The family that excluded me for being just a teacher learned that their values were bankruptcy dressed in designer labels. The inheritance they lost was never really about money. It was about understanding that the woman serving your coffee deserves the same dignity as the one buying the coffee shop. Your worth isn't negotiable. It doesn't increase with your salary or decrease with someone's opinion. Stand firm in that knowledge, even if you stand alone. Especially then. This is Claire Morrison, reminding you that you are enough exactly as you are. Your job doesn't define your worth. Your family's opinion doesn't determine your value. And sometimes the best inheritance you can receive is the knowledge that you don't need anyone else's validation to know your own dignity.